Every town has a story. This one's about a forgotten street, a broken light, and a single act that started a revolution. But it began in darkness, with a 16-year-old kid named Leo who had no idea he was about to change everything. What he did seemed so small, so insignificant, that no one even noticed at first. But trust me, you'll want to see how this story ends. If you believe that one person can make a difference, hit that subscribe button and join our community of world changers. Your support helps us tell more stories just like this one. Now, back to our story. Leo was the kind of kid you'd easily overlook. He was quiet, always had his headphones on, and preferred sketching in his notebook to just about anything else. He lived on Miller Street, a part of town that felt like it had been holding its breath for years. The paint on the houses was peeling, the sidewalks were cracked, and at the corner, a single street lamp stood like a tired old soldier, its light extinguished long ago. Every night, Leo would walk home from his part-time job at the library, plunging into the deep, unnerving darkness of his own street. The shadows danced and played tricks on his eyes, turning familiar shapes into lurking figures. He saw neighbors hurrying home, clutching their keys, their faces tight with unease. The darkness wasn't just an absence of light. It was a weight, a feeling of neglect that had settled over the entire neighborhood. One evening, after nearly tripping over a raised piece of sidewalk for the 10th time, something inside Leo shifted. He was tired of being afraid. He was tired of his street feeling like a ghost of what it could be. He went home, and instead of diving into his video games, he opened his laptop and started researching. He watched hours of tutorials, learning about wiring, circuits, and bulbs. It was a language he didn't know, but he was determined to learn. The next day, armed with a new bulb he bought with his own savings and a toolbox from his garage, he went to the street lamp. His hands were shaking. He wasn't an electrician. What if he made it worse? What if he got hurt? People walked by, giving him curious glances, but no one stopped. He was just that quiet kid, Leo, messing with something that had been broken for as long as anyone could remember. He carefully opened the lamp's housing, his brow furrowed in concentration. He followed the steps from the videos, his fingers fumbling with the old, corroded wires. He cleaned the contacts, replaced the burned-out bulb, and sealed the housing. He took a deep breath, flipped the switch at the base, and nothing. His heart sank. A wave of embarrassment washed over him. Of course it didn't work. What was he thinking? Defeated, he packed up his tools and walked home, the heavy darkness of the street feeling even heavier now. But Leo wasn't one to give up easily. The failure gnawed at him. That night, he stayed up even later, rewatching tutorials, pausing and rewinding, trying to figure out what he'd missed. He realized he might have overlooked a faulty connection in the main line. The next afternoon, he was back at the street lamp. This time, he brought a small multimeter to test the current. He found the problem, a frayed wire hidden deep inside. With painstaking care, he spliced the wire, wrapping it securely with electrical tape. His hands were steadier this time. He felt a quiet confidence growing inside him. He closed everything up again, took another deep breath, and flipped the switch. For a moment, there was just a flicker. Then, a warm golden light flooded the corner, pushing back the shadows and bathing the street in a gentle glow. It was beautiful. Leo just stood there, staring up at his work, a slow smile spreading across his face. He hadn't just fixed a light. He had punched a hole in the darkness. He didn't expect a parade. He just went home, feeling a sense of pride he'd never felt before. But his small act hadn't gone unnoticed. Mrs. Gable, who lived in the house right on the corner, saw the light from her window. For the first time in years, she wasn't afraid to sit on her porch after sunset. The next morning, she went outside and started pulling the weeds from her long-neglected flower bed. Mr. Henderson, from across the street, saw Mrs. Gable working and felt a pang of inspiration. He'd been meaning to fix his broken fence for months. Seeing the new light and his neighbor's effort, he finally went to the hardware store, bought some new slats, and got to work. His hammering was a sound the street hadn't heard in years. A group of teenagers who used to just hang out on the corner, now illuminated by the lamp, saw what was happening. They felt a strange new sense of ownership. They grabbed some trash bags and started cleaning up the litter that had accumulated over time. The change was like a ripple in a pond, starting from that single point of light. Within a week, the street was alive. People were talking to each other again. Someone organized a weekend to repaint the faded murals on a brick wall. Another family fixed the broken swings in the small, forgotten park at the end of the block. Leo, the quiet boy who started it all, watched from his window amazed. He joined in, helping paint and repair, no longer just an observer. The transformation was so profound that the local news came to do a story. They interviewed Mrs. Gable, who pointed to the street lamp. "It all started with that light," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "Someone cared enough to fix it, and it reminded us all that we could care too." The reporter asked who had fixed it, but no one was quite sure at first. It was just a small act, done quietly, without any need for recognition. But eventually, the story came out. They found Leo, the shy kid with the sketchbook, who had simply wanted to feel safer on his walk home. He was embarrassed by the attention, but he also felt a deep, quiet joy. His single, small act of fixing a broken light didn't just illuminate a dark corner. It illuminated the spirit of an entire community. It reminded them that they weren't forgotten, and that they had the power to rebuild, to reconnect, to transform their world, one small act at a time. As Howard Zinn once said, small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. Leo's story is a powerful reminder that you don't have to be loud or powerful to make a difference. Sometimes all you need is the courage to fix one broken light. What's a small act you could do today? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire. We'll see you in the next one.